They've talked all this crap about being like, oh, we had such a good boot camp, we played so poor. But then last night there were a few cryptic tweets out of them, and I was like, hang on a minute. And then today I've seen what they've done. I'm like, I messaged Doki and I was just like, you had us all on. You lot are 10,000 IQs. Like, oh yeah, baby. I was like, don't do this to me. Don't build up the hope for it. Because G2 have had a really tough year, and there is a world where they get knocked out here. But if they don't, they just fly up this ranking, and suddenly you're just like, oh my god, G2 have actually done it. That's what I think is going to happen. Well, we'll see.
We'll see what the IQ is when we finish the game. It's a big risk, one way or another. They've basically put everything on.
Whoa, 2 wild cards, let's go!
Everything is on here on this game. You know, by going in with the extended mag, by, you know, throwing in as much as they can, like you say, they either put themselves in a position whereby they're coming into tomorrow looking pretty comfortable, or they're fighting for their lives in a 1v1. There is no in between. If we go, but it's the direct contrast of the first game of the day between Furia and Secret, where it was just 2 bullets each and sort of gently as they go through the tournament. This from G2 is just throw it all at the wall and see what sticks.
I love it. I think it's going to be such a fascinating map as well. Consulate, one of the ones that both of these teams have enjoyed over the last year. For G2, it's their most successful map, the highest win rate of any of the maps that they play on. Wildcard has been one that they've been looking to play, but often get banned away against them, so don't get a chance to do so. I think both have been pretty confident coming into it. Where it's really going to come down to things is the minute details. I think I'm looking already at the bans that we've seen, for example, while we get ourselves into game here. We have the Azami and the Fenrir coming out from G2. Really interesting bans. Azami you'd look at and go, yeah, pretty strong. More looking towards certain lockdown elements on this map in particular, I think. Alongside the Fenrir, it's a very boxy map. Lots of single doorways you have to work through, so Fenrir is really powerful. It should just open G2 up a little bit. In response, open up G2, open up Wildcard a little bit. In response, Wildcard and then banned away the double shield. So I think going in towards the Blitz here is just to try and slow G2 down. Not make them as oppressive. You can deal with a Monty a bit better arguing the others, not as lethal as a Blackbeard, and certainly not as quick as a Blitz. So they've got the ideas in mind here and how both teams want to approach this. And I think generally, as we've seen from everyone's team, we heard the IGL speak about it in their content piece, the change of the ban system, it's refreshing. It gets a new take on a lot of maps that for the longest time haven't really changed. We spoke about it on Bank on our last map, for example.
Exactly, you know, it's giving that freedom to say, like you say, Bank, for example, we're going to keep elevator wall close. We're going to keep that whole area locked down because we're going to take away Ace, we're going to take away Hibana, we're going to take away your ranged hard breach capability completely.
Yep.
And it's also that we see 2 things happening with the round 4 ban. It's either adaptation or it's pre-planned. It may be sort of finishing off a plan, i.e., you know, in this case, taking out the 3rd shield and just, you know, giving absolutely nothing after round 4 for that part of the game, or it's reactionary. We've seen that a few times, like, oh god, you know, we're getting absolutely battered by Monty in these first few rounds. Yeah, get rid of him. And, you know, maybe you've taken hard breaches out alongside him. And so it's been really fascinating to see how the different teams are using it and handling it differently. And the thing is, you've got to remember as well, this is the first tournament where we've seen this. This is going to develop, and they'll, you know, it'll get more strategic and everything as we go.
I was speaking to Kangaroo Kenny about it, and he said exactly the same. He was like, this is literally the first exposure people have had to it.
Yeah.
Throughout this year, it will come on so far in terms of what teams think and how they approach it. It's going to be great. Just to reiterate again, in case you need a reminder of what the stakes are of this game, if G2 win, nothing really happens. They fly up the table, Wildcard lose a few bullets, end of the world, something in the world for anybody. If Wildcard win, G2 are then forced into that eliminator where they have to win a 1 versus 1 to stay in the tournament. Otherwise, Wildcard send them home. So if you want the more exciting and drama-filled route, Wildcard need to win. If you want the, whoa, G2 are suddenly good again, what the hell, then G2 need to win.
I just think G2 have taken such a big risk with this strategy. I love it. I love it. From our point of view, I think it's brilliant entertainment.
It is worth touching on. Wildcard, I think, have equally big brain this more than G2. So if G2 are 10,000 IQ, Wildcard are like 99,000.
10,001.
No, a bit more than that. Because what they've done today is kind of taken, again, a safe bet and just said, okay, we'll put 3 bullets up. This is fine for us. Tomorrow when they come into it, if they lose here to G2, and they know that G2 want to win this badly, otherwise they're going home, so G2 have to win. If Wildcard lose, it's not the end of the world. They go down to 4. They get one of the first picks about who they play tomorrow. You're going to look at those teams that today have played their extended mag and flown at the rankings, pick them, and just farm 3 points off them. And that's what I think Wildcard are going for. So they've almost delayed their play, their move by a day, whereas G2, alongside people like SSG and Cloud9 earlier, have made that move today. Elevate, sorry, not Cloud9.
Let's get into things.
Spicy, Tim, that's what it is. It's spicy.
After a short little technical pause before we get the game going, we are ready to roll. Interconsulate G2 versus Wildcard. We've been over what it means. It's just time now to see what actually happens. G2 kick things off on the attack. They're going to be attacking onto top floor. What will we see? We've got a couple of options here. We've of course got the CEO window, yellow stairs side of things where teams will play quite directly towards site. Alternatively, we might see an admin take where they will look to get into this right-hand side of the map and sweep their way across, getting themselves into meeting and planting in and around that door. A little bit of pressure usually from Spiral in that case, and try and force all the defenders away from that side of the map. We'll see which G2 go for it. Looks like they're lining up for a fairly direct take towards yellow stairs and sides here, Des.
Yes, I mean, fairly so. Why not go towards site as best you can? Got to try and work your way about through, getting through like the FNATs. That, of course, being banned away now means things like top yellow are far simpler to crack your way through. Things like the keepers mean that you won't be able to hold down that main long hallway through the center of this top floor as easily either. So a lot of options open to G2 where normally it might be quite frustrating to deal with. It's significantly easier.
G2 have already taken out 2 Goyo canisters, I think it is, at the beginning of this one. So they are chewing through Wildcard's utility very, very quickly. Uno is on the rappel by the window, diffuser in hand. This screams that they're going for a CEO window plant. Uno on the Thatcher. He's going to go in now. He's likely to use an EMP potentially to stop any nitros coming in, but the problem is he's going to get shot. Alamau is in there though to take out Dash. That is great support from Alamau, really backing his man up. He grabs the diffuser, he slaps it down on the ground himself. That's a really heads-up choice as well for Alamau to go with it because he had full health. Uno gets out of the window to protect, and G2 just need to hold on.
It's a good read in here. There weren't many C4s being brought along, just the one, and they found their answer with a very, very textbook execute here that Wildcard seemingly were not ready for. 4 versus 3 and not a lot of time to play with. Kansan at least finding one, but Tim, in these situations, it's very hard to see how Wildcard come back.
Alamau's ready for this one soon as he sees that barricade ripped down. However, Spiker does get onto the diffuser. Baby Shark takes Uno. Could they win this one? Blast is there. Do they have time? No, they're unable to get onto it. And that's going to be G2 holding on to the round. There was a second there, just a second, when Blast gets taken down. You just wonder if they can get on there quickly or not. But they were unable to. G2 hold on. Alamau really was the linchpin of that round. He really won that one. Uno goes in. G2 hadn't, despite having the book, they hadn't dealt with Dash behind desk. So he takes Uno down, doesn't manage to get the kill. Alamau goes in and wins the fight. That's the real key moment in that round. Alamau repels in, wins the fight onto Dash, picks his teammate up, grabs the diffuser, says, Uno, get out of the window. You're only on 20 health. I've got full health. So he goes for the plant instead. Just really cool, calm, and collected play from Alamau.
I just love how Doki's got straight into the chat there and just been like, bots. The bomb site is above, not below. Probably because it felt like they were so focused on being downstairs. There's very little denial, let's stress as well. I spoke about them only having the 1 C4 on side. They were trying to play with players down there. Just not able to get enough done. And I think G2 probably wondering there, how on earth have they not managed to stop this? Why is there not enough presence on the upstairs? But a really good execute, and they get that first round on the board. Now we go down into the basement, Tim, in towards Cafeteria and Garage. Let's see how things set up. We've got the Tuber out and the Kaid combo coming in. Admittedly, we've seen Kaid banned nearly every single game, so it's one of the
awful lot of Kaid bans, yeah. He's not seen too much joy at the tournament in terms of play time.
But too much joy, Tim. He's had a great time. He's just put his feet up.
Well, yeah, he's been kicking back on the beach.
Exactly, yeah.
Hasn't he? No problem.
G2 want to be tomorrow if they can win this, yeah.
Breaching sequence activated.
Uno's just going to be holding the long angle for the possible run out onto balcony. It's not going to come though. Wildcard, as we have the privilege of the outlines, can see that they've dipped away. However, Bait is just waiting on the main door there, looking for a potential little run out. Just waiting for those rappel sounds, I think, for a little bit of intel, a little bit of information to give him the go.
I think we're waiting for someone to shoot it out and start heading in. The number of times that I've seen like clips of streamers, pro players, whoever, just sitting in that corner and waiting for someone to step in and just not thinking to drone that one corner or the one towards the left is ridiculous. Has now stepped away, though, as he's aware that pressure is coming in elsewhere around the map and no one's coming into that front door, so can slip his way back through the building, find somewhere else to set up there, and hopefully catch out someone else on the side of G2.
Spiker, Nitro in hand, is going to send it out. He's going to get caught on the top, so he's not going to find his target. Zoto Canister will delay the exothermic as well. How about this? Lyra doesn't even react to the shots coming his way. He's far too focused on his main target, which is taking down Dash. Spiker will finish him off 4v4, but Blaz has worked in from the back. This is a beautiful pinch push from G2.
They've kind of just said, you know what, you want to keep the wall closed, that's fine. You keep looking at that wall. They've had 2 players walk in the back to him and kill 2 players on the side of Wildcard. Baby Shark at least of all gives a little bit of control to the chaos. I mean, Lyra and Uno should have been dead to rights a long time ago. They get a second, and now finally, it looks like Wildcard have reinstated some form of control because this round was going crazy.
Baby Shark 5-0 as he finds that kill onto Alamo. Having a great game so far. Kansan's going to close that one out. Wildcard get their first round on the board, leveling things up at 1-1. A little bit unfortunate for G2 there. A good reaction, a good response coming out of Wildcard. They weren't rattled by what went on. Blaz and Lyra working in from that backside whilst Uno was getting that front garage wall open. Was absolutely beautiful stuff from G2. It just didn't quite pay dividends because Wildcard were able to dig their heels in, back against the wall and win some important fights.
Interesting when our G2 have tried to kind of thrive on chaos in the first couple of rounds. I can't imagine it will carry them through forever. I do want to give a nod, though, to one of the players, actually, that you can see on the far right side of your screen, Baby Shark. He started out real strong here so far, and reading his name, you might be like, man, is this guy like 14? Because it feels like all the thing that the very young kids were very obsessed with for a long time. But I remember actually seeing him a while ago, speaking to him when he first appeared in the pro circuit. He's just a really nice guy, really grateful for where he's got to be as well, really excited about everything before him. And it's a big move to get imported to Wildcard, the team as well. And lots of people look at the pickup like, huh? You're focusing up a player that's mainly voted around tier 2. What the hell is going on here? But you can't really ignore that so far at this event, he's been playing really, really well. He's now like top 25 players or so. He started this game strong as well. So just want to give a nod. Real nice guy. I'm sure you're going to see some drama out of him at this tournament when he starts getting a bit loud and lippy, but that's part of the fun. But it's real cool seeing someone delivering so well after they made such a big move to play for a team halfway around the world.
He's really shown that he can do some amazing things.
So how long did it take you to cut that one up, Tim?
I love that I can hear chat collectively rolling their eyes at me, and I'm here for it. You got to remember, I'm a dad. It's in my blood. It's in my nature.
Is your daughter into all that?
No.
Oh, thank God. I'll never come round your house again.
No. I'm just into bad jokes and...
I know. You're a dad. It comes with the territory.
It certainly does.
All right.
You're welcome.
Onwards.
We can move on.
Onwards. Shield on side this time round. I spoke about the double shield ban and how it would be a little bit slower with the Monty, feeling like you can deal with that. Don't even rely on it, but not a big focus on the window execute. This time around, it is top yellow that has been the point of focus. And as remarked earlier, with the FNATs taken away, that Fenrir removed, feels like this gets a little bit easy once you've dealt with those smokes, and already Dash's smokes are being consumed here, being chewed through the first one at top yellow, forcing Alamal back at least temporarily. Probably want to draw out a second one here, and then they can start making a move and start thinking about what comes next.
Doki just working his way up behind Alamau on the Monty, just trying to create a little bit of space for him, but it's going to be Dash that opens things up with a kill onto Lyra. Doki does manage to make some use of that cover though. LMG putting it to good work here with a double. G2 managed to find themselves a man advantage. Can they go in and start really claiming some space? They might not be too dead. Blaz is getting the diffuser down, but no, Baby Shark, he's going to be there to take him out with a Nitro.
That's all you need. No cover on the window, no one to shoot that out, but Alamal stepping back in. There's no C4 left, I believe, to play with here. They're going to have to push into the Monty, but Doki needs to get some control of the ground here. He's being pushed by Bay at the same time, and he kills Doki. Alamal is all by himself, gets at least one back. Where the hell is Uno right now? He's finally got on the window. Alamal needs support, but it's too late, Tim. Uno's in a 1 versus 2, and when it looks so good for G2, it has started crumbling. Wildcard surging on forwards and taking control of this round. Bay's going to close things out. Great round from Wildcard.
Again, Wildcard showing that great resilience. Despite losing those couple of bodies to Doki, they're able to dig in and fight their way through. And G2 right now, they're having a little bit, they're on the struggle bus on the attack here, Des. They had that good first round, which, let's be honest, could have gone a very different way if Alamau doesn't win that fight on the rappel through. It was certainly a roll of the dice for him. Round 2 and 3, Wildcard have been put under pressure, but have not buckled. They've been able to fight their way back into round at man disadvantage, out of position, and they've been able to deal with what G2 are throwing at them. And you know what? I don't want to get carried away. It's early in the day yet in terms of this match, but if I'm a G2 fan, I'm getting a little bit concerned.
Probably also scratching my head a bit here about the ban onto the Valkyrie. Like, we haven't seen it played once across those first 3 rounds. Clearly, more the fear of it being brought along that they're bothered by, but I'd lean towards something like a Smoke here. Like, you've seen that brought out a couple of times and do a bit of work, stall you out. Also seen a lot of comfort for Bay on the Vigil. There's various things they could have banned out, but chose not to. The Kaidas, we know, slowed them down. So, for all I said about the 10,000 IQ played to maybe it's more like 10,000 IQ, I'm not too sure G2 are quite looking as put together as maybe we've been used to seeing from them historically.
But like maybe a Legion ban. You know, if they're going to give you the Monty, if they're going to let you have that shield, I mean, you don't necessarily know that because the bans are happening simultaneously. Maybe they assumed that the Monty ban was going to come in as, you know, to round out the shield bans. But, you know, take away one of those trap operators that's going to slow you down and then really start hammering the use of that shield. But for the time being, we move into round 4. G2 need to be getting themselves a couple of rounds here. They will want at least a 3-3, I think. You know, I'd say a 2-4 is enough on the attacking console. Yeah. I'd expect G2 to win 4 rounds, but they don't want to be aiming for overtime here. They want this done. Let's not forget, sorry, they have reloaded 13 bullets. They'll lose this. They're in a 1v1.
I want to know who's in that 1v1.
They don't want to be 2-4 down, Des.
I think it'll be Loira. It's definitely not going to be Uno, to be honest. Loira's the guy I'd imagine being their main entry that you step him up for there. But you can't go against Kansan in that case.
Or maybe Alamau, you know, we talk about confidence. We talk, you know, he's the sort of player to really back himself, isn't he?
He is. But he don't strike me as a 1v1 merchant, to be honest.
No.
We'll see when it comes around to it. Let's see how things go there with these bans in effect. Obviously, a lot more comfort being offered to Wildcard with the dock taken away as well. It was only played in 1 round, our second when we were attacking on the downstairs, but it gives you a lot of comfort that you can play the map more freely. And I think they've probably identified they're thriving when they can play the map, when they aren't being constrained in by the Dockerby. And so far, it's working wonders. Blaz taken down by Spiker. Second one falls. Loira also gone. Uno gone at the same time. They're literally falling like dominoes, Tim. There's only Doki left. Another round completely crumbling for G2 and Wildcard. Not giving them an inch in this game.
Nope, Baby Shark going to take a lot of damage, but that's about as close as they could get to preventing a flawless round. Didn't manage to take him down. It will be flawless. It's Kansan to pick up the final kill, and that is going to be G2 now 3-1 down and on the back foot. It is only the attack, but there's only so long that you can say that for.
G2 tack timeout coming on through. I'm sure we'll get a chance to listen in a second because there's got to be some choice words being offered up here by the coach.
We're not gonna have the gap like in the back, so I think like we have 2 options. One is you play Ashe, then we have a hard soft bridge if they do more turtle, and then we're gonna have the map, and then we can play for first floor, or other like we force like Sever with you playing the Monty. So 2 options. And for CO guys after, like let's do the spider push. We have the Monty open, okay? So like just like be aware to clean the goal in gate door after you have the admin first. Okay.
One of the face. It's not easier.
Also can be good. Face also can be good, okay? Like just because they if you go for a split, like be mind that they can be more turtle, and we can also play for first floor.
Yeah,
Let's go, guys.
I
fucking go, boys.
Can even do the room clear, maybe, bro, because like the win con of the other.
Riley worries me a little bit about this. I'm certainly not anywhere near as good as Ramal or any of these players. I'm not going to kind of pretend that I know the right answer to solve their problems.
Don't you sell yourself short, Des.
Shut up, Tim. But the focus there is on really small things. Like, maybe you play the Ashe here, get rid of that Goyo, don't forget, maybe I could do this instead. Yeah, maybe we do that instead. I don't feel the issues are in forgetting little bits of gadgetry. I feel the issues are far more systemic than that. Like, as we've remarked, it's been very isolated as team play. It hasn't looked like the put together team-based G2 that we've seen historically. Yeah, exactly. It's dead weird. And I feel that's probably a bigger issue that needs to be addressed. Unless they've decided, look, we ain't fixed that the last 2 days. We can't easily fix that today. Let's focus on what we can control, which is the smaller things. But I don't see that having a massive impact on the next 2 rounds, being honest.
G2 are generally going in, getting themselves a couple of kills, but then once Wildcard get going, G2 are really struggling to impact on that. You know, it tends to be, you know, maybe 4 versus 3 in favour of G2, but then it's 3v3, 2v3, 1v3, and Wildcard don't lose anybody along the way. And this is what we need to see from G2. More team play, like you say, more being in a position to impact on the other players' deaths, because if not, this one's going to run away from them quickly. They desperately do not want this to be a 5-1 half. I would back G2 on the defense of this map. They are so good on Consulate that they will be difficult to break down, but you don't want to be chasing 5 rounds just to get to overtime.
Sure. Big one to watch in this round for me, because we saw it out of Loira and out of, I think it was Uno in the previous round when we attacked down here. It's kind of waddling into the back of sight. completely isolated. Loira almost went down, managed to stay alive and get a kill, cool. But it just looks a bit uncoordinated, a little bit ill-informed as well, not moving as a unit. So that's the big focus for me, is do they move as a group and do you see the kill feed reflect that? If not, Wildcard, they just keep on sitting pretty, Tim, and keep on collecting these rounds that G2, for now at least, are donating to them.
Yeah. Last time around, it was a split push from G2. They moved in from the rear side with Blaz and with Loira trying to put some attention over there whilst Uno opened the main garage. That's not really the case this time. They're all stacked up on this rear side apart from Alamau. He's the one to watch out for. Alamau is on the Ash and he's just waiting outside of yellow stairs at the minute. Wildcard need to be very careful here that once they recognise this is coming from the rear, that they don't just take their eyes off the ball and completely front up. As it is, they are aware of Alamau's presence, I think, there. So, are they? It was Bear that I was watching. Bear was moving around in piano and I wasn't sure if he was going to hold down that angle or not, but I don't think he is. So Alamau still out there, one to watch.
Kansan has got this all under lock as well. Every single move that G2 are making, perfectly spotted out by the Pulse. It looks a bit too simple for them. Just waiting to see when G2 come in, but here we go. Dash going aggressive and gets a freebie onto Blaz. Was not expecting the swing, and there's no one there to secure a trade.
Look, Alamau has moved into sight, but he's got absolutely nothing to go on because all of Wildcard have kept themselves safe. He finally manages to get Baby Shark, but it's too little too late. He's now in a 1v4 because Wildcard have done the damage elsewhere. You've just got to feel like the timing was slightly off from G2 again. That teamwork that we've spoke about wasn't quite there. And Alamau wandered all the way through sight before he could find anybody. And by the time he did, Wildcard had picked up the kills at the rear. He needed to just be there a little bit sooner. Alamau keeps searching and seeking here, picks up Beer, finds himself now 1v3. He's got time potentially, but he doesn't have the health. That's the major problem for him.
He's got to win 3 separate 1v1s here, Tim, with a slither of HP to his name. It's just not going to go his way. G2 will be down 4-1 at that point. I'll give it to Wildcard, Tim. They are slamming the door in the face of G2 right now. And when G2 look to get a little bit settled and pause, what happens? Well, they just slam them. They go pushing into them aggressively. Try what they might. There's a 2v1 being forced out at the end there. Nothing he can do. Wildcard up 4-1.
Fantastic play again from them, like I say. I like the idea from G2. 4 players pushed from the rear. Alamau worked in from yellow, moved into garage, but they just, again, misread the situation slightly. As Alamau's coming in, that was the point that Wildcard had actually pushed into G2 at the rear side of site. So they weren't in a position for Alamau to do anything about it because they were deep in cafeteria. They were out at bottom spiral stairs. Alamau's all the way back in car garage, so he's not in really a position to challenge onto them. And by the time he does get his first kill onto Baby Shark, 3 of G2 have gone down. And it's just not a great situation for them. Again, a tough one, but Wildcard dealing with this G2 side fantastically well, who have really rolled the dice on this game, Des, and right now it's not looking good for them.
I'm really excited to see what happens when Wildcard get on the attack as well, because they're defending extremely well. And I remark that Consulate is one of those maps that they love playing. They never seem to ban it away, always happy to let other teams be the ones to take it off them, which suggests they're the ones that are quite keen to go to it and see what they can do and show what they're made of on this map. And so far, they're showing up in style and really handing it to G2. Don't really seem to have any way back into it. That attack timeout doing nothing for them in the last round. A bit too micro-focused for my liking. They're paying the price now.
Back up to the top floor we go then, in the final defensive round. Honestly, if Wildcard come away with a 5-1 here, there is a very good chance that we're going to be seeing our second back-to-back 1v1, which I can't hate, Des, because I loved the last one. It was an awful lot of fun to cover. So, G2, can you avoid that sticky situation? Right now, a lot of attention coming from the admin side. It's the opposite. They're not going to go for the plant on the window again. There's no way that they get away with that at this level of play. So they're going to work themselves into admin. They've got that copy wall breached. That's forcing Wildcard back a little bit. They're now into sort of vending corridor, meeting corridor. Just being forced back. G2 need to go forward. You feel like they need to pick up that opening kill. Get themselves that space so that they can start working towards meeting and long desk.
Again, I'll come back to the bans as well. The Kiva barriers being taken offline with the Azami, I think does weaken the hold that you can have out here. So admin should be pretty easy for G2 to take. I like they're not trying to Hail Mary in entirely towards the window or pushing up yellow stairs that have blocked out before. They've still got the... I was going to say, they've still got Uno on the shield to hide behind, but now he's down as well. Had the fuser in hand, and that's just shield offline. What is going on? Uno's getting nothing today. All is 0 and 6. Shields offline. Doke is falling. Surely another one falls soon after. Wildcard bunches together here around this long desk and punishing G2 every step forward they take. Wow. Absolutely slammed. A second flawless round this half.
G2 are better than this, is the reality. The players are better than this. But it feels like another tournament where we're seeing G2 come in and just fail to deliver in the server.
Don't forget, it's not just a tournament, because throughout all of the last year, every event they've been to has been through the LCQs. They didn't finish high enough in league play to get to the event in the first place.
I don't want to take anything away from Wildcard, because Wildcard are playing very well. I want to make that clear. Wildcard have been a joy to watch so far. Like I say, the way that they have reacted, the resilience that they've shown in a couple of rounds to play from man deficit, the way that they've worked together as a team, they haven't suffered trades when they've got kills. Wildcard have used their utility well. We saw the smoke canister dealing with the shield of Uno. Like, Wildcard have played well here, but G2, as individual players, they are all very, very capable, very talented players, but I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, G2 fans.
They look awful, Tim.
They do.
They really do not.
And that's me saying that.
Yeah, it sounds like quite a harsh comparison, but I look back to PSG Talent, how much we were praising their attacking prowess on Bank, how they were pulling together well for these attacks. They had a game plan that was built around the bans against them, including the ones they've made for them, different approaches to each site. For G2, it feels like a bit of a lump it in hope kind of vibe in a way. Like, again, Uno there is going down on the Monty, completely isolated, is unforgivable. You can't be losing the spearhead of your attack that quickly. And to then lose one after the other, just seemingly in rhythmic fashion, the same way they got flawless rounded in round 4. I don't know what's going on. It just does not look good, especially not on a map where, again, they've had the most success over the last year. You would expect better, regardless of what Wildcard have done.
And I tell you what, Des, I don't know who it is on the side of G2 that will have been lined up for the 1v1 should it come. But if you were any of these players right now, would you want to or feel confident going into a 1v1 after this performance?
Being frank, Tim, it doesn't matter, because if they lose all their extended mag points tonight today and they can't issue the card again tomorrow to try and get back in, they're way at the bottom of the table.
They've got a big problem either way.
They would have to challenge a top team to get 8 bullets best they can.
They've got a big problem either way, but you just look at it and think, would you, after the way this game has gone so far, feel confident rolling into a 1v1? You just wouldn't. It's, you know, they've been absolutely beaten up by Wildcard, who've had them beaten at every single step at the minute. And like I say, let's focus on Wildcard, because, you know, what a great performance they're showing us. This is a critical round that's coming up here. G2, they need a win on the defense to get them rolling. Maybe that will be the spark. That'll be the positivity that they need. That'll start bringing out that performance that we know is hiding in there, that they're just not showing us. But Wildcard, I'm certain, are not going to make it easy. They are starting to remove utility already, using those Flores drones, taking the barbed wire away, clearing yellow stairs, keeping G2 guessing as well as to maybe where this attack is going to come from. At the minute they shaped up towards yellow stairs, they've opened the window, but are they going to go for a plant there, or are they going to try to work in elsewhere?
Having the window available is good for the later round plan. That's why you've got the player right now. I want to say it's Spiker who's on the upside down rappel, just waiting for the call on getting there and get planted, but they need this top yellow control first. That's where a lot of their focus is. You've got a couple of players on G2. It's Doki and Alamau squaring off towards this direction to make sure they can challenge on top white, but it is a Blackbeard bearing down on them. That's not the easiest thing in the world to clear. Second smoke canister coming out now from Alamau. In fact, no, it's third one coming out. So at this point, with half a round still to play, Wildcard have removed the main bottlenecks that stop them making progress here. There's still one C4 to worry about, but they'll be feeling good right now.
Potential challenge coming in from Alamau there, just looking to try and disrupt the progress of this Blackbeard, but struggling to. Plaz manages to find Dash, takes down the shield, much better from G2 as they pile on the pressure. Loira goes in and gets 2, and they find themselves suddenly 5v2, and this one is all but over for Wildcard. Baby Shark manages to pick up Uno underneath, but it's surely too little too late. Spiker does have Diffuser in hand. He's going to go for a plant, Des. What am I seeing?
This is interesting. Very, very interesting. Starting to get away with it low. He's got dropped in and said, okay, you have the vertical, just no issue by me. Now get shut out. Loira onto a 3K. All this focus on the top floor. All well and good, Tim, but unless you can get control of it in the first place, you ain't walking away the winner, I'm afraid. And G2 do get the first defensive round on the board.
They desperately needed that. Like I said, a critical round. For me, I think they need another 2. I think they need another 2 in a row. They need to come in here and get themselves back to 5-4, and then they can start, yeah, if Wildcard pick one up, maybe they can, they only need to find a couple of rounds to get themselves to overtime. But There is a lot of work for G2 left to do. Wildcard not looking maybe quite as confident on the attack. I thought they did good work to get themselves into the top of yellow, but then they were dealt with reasonably easily. Loira getting a double up there, the Blackbeard taken out as well. It was
the first 90 seconds were great. They drained away utility, cleared out Barb, got all 3 smokes out. The problem was no one was contending around Spiral, and Loira was the one who was sat on long desk and thought, well, if no one's coming up, I'll have to go and challenge. So he steps across the window here, gets 2 kills. That's what shuts this round down. Don't get me wrong, any other way about it. It was because of that small oversight by Wildcard, not giving it enough attention or respect where Loira spotted a gap and capitalized. Without that, they probably do get some real good ground gained on yellow stairs and start a push forward to force G2 away, get the vertical control they need in place, and then get a plant down. Loira was the man of the moment that they sorely needed to go big, and that's exactly what he did.
I mean, I guess with G2, you know, they're a team that are familiar with playing in adversity, Des. We've seen it plenty over the last 12 months, so they're not going to be rattled by being behind in a tournament. It's not going to be, you know, a new stress, a new pressure, something they haven't encountered before, so maybe they can use this as a foundation to start building on and get themselves a couple of rounds. As I said, I think they need at least another 2 here. They need 3 back-to-back rounds to kick off their defense to get themselves right back into things. Wildcard looking to get themselves in towards admin by the looks of things and work across. It's going to be a top floor attack. Work across from there and try and get something going on around meeting.
Sure. Probably more of the same as well with the focus. CG2 trying to lock things down. Of course, we've got the Chanka and the Smoke on side here to really try and stall things out. We spoke about this back on Bank though, Tim. I haven't always seen the most effective use of Tachanka, so curious to see what Uno's got in mind, assuming he doesn't get picked off too soon. The Wildcard, I think all these drones have been now rained on through, lost half of the ones available to them. They know what they're facing up against him. They know what that enemy lineup is, and they're going to have to figure something out. Of course, eyes should fall towards Dash here, playing on the Sense along with the Capitao. Very good combination to execute with, especially when paired up with something like the Grim and those bees to help track out any players that are trying to push forward into the area where you want to get an execute down.
Yeah, 3 of Wildcard have got themselves established inside of admin now. They're trying to push forward, but Doki says, no, not today. Steps out, gets a beautiful kill onto Kansan at copy door. Goes in for afters, but he's not going to get a treat. He's going to be taken out by Dash. 4 versus 4 as the Wildcard march continues.
Good from Dash. He kind of reaggressed there when Kansan had died, didn't wilt away and get back on drones, pressed on forward to look to take that ground. I think Doki probably wrongly assumed that Kansan was the only one coming forwards and has paid the price for it. So, Wildcard still keeping things competitive. You've lost the Nomad. I wouldn't say that's the end of the world, and you've got rid of the smoke on the other side. That's going to stop G2 wasting as much time as they could with Doki still available.
Wildcard need to find themselves a little bit of progression here. Going to be increasing the numbers of players inside of Copy, but they haven't really grabbed any ground for the last minute or so, being held at bay for the time being. Uno's doing some work with the Tachanka. Meanwhile, the Sense gadgets will start to go out. Bay picks up Uno, so that's the Tachanka and the denial gone, but Blaz and Loira step in and manage to find one apiece. 3 versus 2.
That's the problem with the Tachanka, mind you, Tim. If the shot comes around the corner, Dash bringing it back into a 2v2. Starting to feel a little bit winnable here, but Uno relied so much on those Shomikas to do the work for him, but they just ran in and just killed him. Didn't care about the fire, took a bit of damage. Blaz at least gets the second one back. That will save this round for G2, and Spiker, he's got 2 to bring down with 15 seconds on the clock. It's looking very unlikely. Alamal will just run for the hills if he finds Blaz going down, but Blaz ain't giving it away. Collects his 3rd of the round, and G2 hold on.
That's great play from Blaz there. The kill that I particularly liked was when he was naded out of that corner. So it's a tactic that we see a lot since the change of the nades. They will detonate 4 seconds after they bounce off a surface. So you send it in, you let it bounce. You know if there's somebody in there, they're going to have to move. It gives them that opportunity to get out of the way because you can't cook the nades anymore, but you're basically guns up, ready for them to move. But that works both ways, and Blaz has proved that there. He was switched on. No panic in him thinking, oh, I just need to get away from this nade. He's thinking, yeah, I need to get away from it, but they're probably going to be challenging me from meeting. That's why they've sent this nade in here. And he spins around and gets the reverse kill. Just not a big thing, but just really nice kill for Blaz.
I wish we had that run in from Bay. It was so funny to see, like, Uno just at crouch, waiting with the Shumaker in place, like, yeah, you can't run on me, the spot on the floor, and Bay's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Runs in, puts him down, yeah, Blaz gets the trade, but playing a little bit too close there, Uno, I think. And we spoke about Chanka a few times, Tim. For me, it's about the gadget's great when there's a default plant spot you want to keep fired out. It's not good when someone wants to run through it because you take about 15, 20 damage. It's not a big deal to worry about. And a bit too much over-reliance there on the operator that has then come back to bite them. Now to the base that we go. G2 still 2 rounds behind, mind you, and Wildcard looking to get that first round on the board.
G2, as I said, I think they need one more, get it to 5-4, and they'll be happy with that. They start looking then at the match as being winnable. Wildcard, where I said that round 7 was a critical round for G2, I think this is a critical round for Wildcard. Get yourselves onto that match point, give yourselves an opportunity for 3, because otherwise you've gone through an entire rotation of sites not getting a win on the attack, and it's going to start to become a mental block. Again, that just says to me that maybe they're not droning enough, maybe they don't have the intel, Des. They're sending in their utility, they don't know that Blaz is inside of Visa and he's just going to shoot the ex-Kairos pellets off. The Blackbeard's going to go into challenging him. Blaz drops away, but meanwhile, Baby Shark continues his onslaught, takes a bite out of Doki and finds us now 5 versus 4.
Really good playing in behind Dash as well. Of course, being on that Blackbeard, hard to kill him, but the player stuck behind him, the Havana. More than lethal and able to find out one. Doki, I think, overstaying his welcome a little bit whilst his teammate had already dipped away. I don't know if that was miscommunication there, where Doki thought they were staying to fight it or not, but he's been caught out and punished for it as a result. Baby Shark on that hard breach gone, but there is still, of course, the Thermite and the Ace available.
Swapping mags!
Yeah, they've still got the utility that they need here of Wildcard. 1 minute 39 left on the clock, so plenty of time as well. But it seems again like there's maybe just a little bit of uncertainty. They've got 2 at the rear side, 2 have moved over to the front side. Where is this push going to come from? Where is the execution going to happen? The diffuser going, how are you going to create that space? Where are you going to get the kills? Feels like, again, just a little bit of sort of need to rotate has caused a problem for Wildcard.
Doki there forcing a couple of players back. Speak about this operator all the time. So good for forcing roamers away, all getting punished by a team that is more than happy to capitalise during the duration of that phone call. Into a 4 versus 4. The final phone call comes out now, but they've got a bit sideswiped here, Tim. Still a good trade, though. Yes, Blaz gets rid of 1, but Kansan is there for the response. Now a 3 versus 3 as the last of these phone calls go down, and Kansan sees his man. I don't think they know here. I don't think G2 know that Kansan's crossing towards site at this point, Tim, but didn't have the diffuser. Now knows one's coming in behind. Right idea, and the swing comes through, and he just knows what's coming. He's a bit too smart for this one, Tim. Knows the challenge is coming in from the other direction, but Loira, he's out of dodge, so you don't want none of that smoke.
Kansan is so good in those sort of 1vx multiplayer situations and making the right choices and reading when things are going to happen. I'm going to take the opportunity to get in there and maybe put this diffuser down. He's made it stick, and G2, they're in big trouble, Des. They've got 40 seconds to do something about this. Loira, Alamo, you can't sit behind shields. You better get moving.
Alamo's come down. They need to get rid of Bay. Oh, Bay's got both down the long corridor.
You don't get rid of Bay, Des. Bay gets rid of you.
Slaughtered there. It didn't matter. They were lining up for a 2 versus 1. Made it all too easy for him to get 2 kills, Tim. G2 now truly on the ropes. Wildcard, 1 more round. And they'll send G2 into that duel to decide if they get to stay here in Rio or if they're going home.
A lot of people wouldn't have thought that we would be seeing G2 in this position, I'm sure. They came in with such confidence, extended mag card, piling everything on this, 13 bullets reloaded, looking to catapult themselves up to the top of the table, but right now, they're going to be fighting for their very lives in the tournament if they can't get 4 rounds in a row. No more mistakes. But the problem is, as much as there have been some G2 mistakes, it's not just about them, Des. It's about Wildcard. And Wildcard at a point there, when they'd split, I was a little bit concerned they'd split. They had 2 at the front side, 2 at the rear. And it just didn't feel like they had too much confidence in it. It was kind of like a half, like, you know, we'd been pushing rear, that's not really worked. And, you know, we didn't know that Blaz was in Visa and was going to challenge. And it all felt like they weren't a bit too confident with that rear-sided push. So they sent a few rounds to the front. But then all of a sudden, Kansan just goes big in the middle there. And he's just such a round-winning player for them. He's in no man's land, really.
That's the difference, though, right? Kansan was by himself with 2 players looking to 2v1 him. The fact that he wins that completely
timing
that
from
down.
G2.
If he loses out to that 2v1 flank, which is the right play to make by G2, it's just that Kansan's this good that he can isolate out 2 1v1s. They win that, Diffuser's down in no man's land, G2 probably go on and win the round. So a lot of that is on Kansan and the capability that he's got. We've known it for a long time. He's had a great tournament so far, and that domination continues today.
Yeah, and his good decision making just continued. I've created the space, I'm now going to use it. I'll go in and get the diffuser down, and brilliant stuff. And I tell you what, G2 are helping themselves.
I mean, Blaz has been one of the saving graces for G2 at points throughout this game. He's now offline. You start feeling very concerned for the European side. The Wildcard are about to roll over them in this round.
Uno 0-9 at the minute. It's been a tough game for him, but you know, I don't like to highlight it, but it is these things that make the difference at this level.
He has 7 kills across the whole event so far, Tim.
It's these things that make the difference. Yes, there are players on teams who are going to get fewer kills than everybody else, but I feel like we're in a world in competitive Siege where even your IGLs, your support players, need to be getting 4 or 5 kills a game at least. We can see Uno gets himself off the mark with a Nitro, and it couldn't have been better timed, but Kansan is there with one onto Loira, 3 versus 2, and we are heading towards that 1v1. There's a real possibility, Des.
They've just taken the conquest of that mirror window and using it for their own now. You've got Doki underneath, and I believe Uno's the same, who are trying to hold off. Got to recover the diffuser, mind you, so it could be a little bit of a torrid and scrappy affair until that comes around. It's about playing as a team here, I think, for Wildcard, and not letting yourself get picked off and caught out by 1 or 2 players from G2 that are just off on the fringes somewhere.
Dash, just low health on that Blackbeard, a saving grace for G2 potentially as the vertical work continues. I think just a little bit of a concern about a potential flank coming up yellow stairs. It's not actually happening, but Wildcard obviously felt that they'd heard something. G2 were moving away from that position. Right now, Uno Doki just trying to hold on, trying to burn a bit of time, but that's the big problem for them, Des. There's a minute left to go. This is it's too long to just soak up the pressure as Dash takes down Doki. It's all up to Uno. Can he 1v3? No, he cannot. Baby Shark, who else, finds the final kill and takes G2 into a 1v1 for survival.
The specific players coming into that team as well, Loira and Bay in this 1 versus 1. 2 great players to pick out. Yeah, Loira took up in the entry for them. Bay's had a wicked game today as well. What a 1v1 it could prove to be.
So as a reminder of how
here with the Spiker from Wildcard, and you guys did pretty well. Let's talk about that new roster. It's your first time playing with them in the official tournament. So you just won 2 games. Okay, you lost it to Team Falcons, which we pretty understand. You know, it's old BDS, but how are you feeling right now with this team?
We're feeling really good. You know, we've only had like a month of practice, and we feel like our game yesterday versus Falcons was a lot closer than the score showed.
Okay.
We lost a lot of rounds that we feel like were in our control, and then we kind of threw them away in the later rounds. So we felt really comfortable in every game we play, and we're just tightening things up in the late round. That was our main goal today.
Only 1 month of practice? Really? And you are doing this well. If you had more time, maybe you know, would have won against Falcons. Who knows?
Yeah, and especially with Dash and Shark, half of the practice we had, they were in France still, or Dash was in Brazil, so they were practicing on like 140 ping. So the practice wasn't, you know, super productive, I guess. And so we've only really had like 2 to 3 weeks of practice with everybody like actually on playable like ping. So we're happy with the progress we've made, and we're looking to keep it going.
Okay, congrats on doing that, because you know it's pretty hard to practice with your team and Dash win in Brazil and all of that stuff. Also, what are the best takeaways from Wildcard? I mean, what do you see the best in your team right now?
I think that we're starting to get really good at adapting mid-round to what we're doing. Dash, the more comfortable Dash gets with his English, you know, the easier the rounds are, because earlier on it was mostly me calling a lot of stuff, and now as time goes on it's becoming a lot more of a team effort with both Shark and Dash being able to get more comfortable in language and just, you know, talk a lot more mid-round.
Yeah, that is going to happen. You know, just keep speaking English and he will get better. Why didn't you guys use the extended mag like G2? I want to know that.
Well, G2 was in a tough spot because they were already...
What did you just say?
I trolled. I should have used it.
That's so hindsight, though. But G2 was in a tough spot because they already, were really low on bullets, and we were already still in a comfortable spot at 7. So our minds is, we win this game, we're at 10. We still have 2 more games to play. So if we can, we can use it later on if we need to, but we didn't feel like it was worth the risk at this point in the tournament for us.
Cool. Thank you so much, Spiker. And yeah, we have to keep an eye out for Wildcard. Only 1 month of practice. Yeah, keep an eye out. Desk.
Oh, that's what they can do with 1 month of practice. Imagine if we got an extra month of practice. God damn, that would be a hell of a team.
Go next.
Right.
Go next.
Right. Anyways, GG Go Next. That's what we had. Speaking of Go Next, we got a 1v1 right after that game. G2, G-Who, yada yada. I was talking about this with Guz and Xenox in the backstage, just saying, hey man, maybe Lawyer would be the best pick to have for this 1v1. If they can kind of handle the egos, and that's exactly what we got.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't get to catch shit as much as I wanted to, but Fox, on the other hand, he was casting it. So why don't you break that down?
Yeah, no, I was casting it. I think it was just a simple way to put it is Bay overcooked. I think he was thinking too much about it, whereas Lawyer was just playing the situations. I liked the avenue that Bay was going, bringing the Twitch, stopping denial, bringing Knock to stop denial. But it didn't go out in their favor. The jump out on defense, nobody could really win on defense until Lawyer was in his final defensive round. And he wasn't even using his gadgets. He was just setting up the site for a perimeter. He just went for the pushes, and he won them more often than not. So I like the way it went, but it just goes to show thinking less is the strategy in 1v1.
I'll ask for the rating from Des and Ace for the casting after
Lag sounded bad.
After we're done with this.
I know you did great.
Anyways, our matchup, of course, it started off with G2 Wildcard on the console, and it's where G2 fell. They didn't just fall. They tripped and rolled over a hill that is hundreds of feet high.
As I said, Milos, getting into this match, I don't think G2 was actually putting a lot, of effort into who they were actually going up against. I think they believed that it was going to be a landslide of a match going against Wildcard. But like I said, they don't know those little idiosyncrasies of what Wildcard brings to the table, how they move around the map, how aggressive they can be. And like Fox pointed out, they were doubling up on G2, finding those gaps, finding those openings, and just punishing G2 almost in every single scenario. And Spiker said it best. When they were playing against Falcons, they struggled in the late rounds. Today, they were focusing on being far more tight in those late rounds, and it's sure enough, a 7-3. It doesn't get any better than that.
Every single G2 fight was a 1v1, so it goes to show why Laura won that 1v1, because when it comes down to it, they are great players, but the teamwork wasn't there. But Wildcard, on the other hand, every single gunfight they were going for was those 2-on-1s. It was so well played, start to finish from Wildcard.
Look at that cost. When we're talking about teamwork and efficiency and just being effective across the board, everyone is above 60%. That's an insane cost rate. That means everyone is putting more than enough effort across the board, making it work, ending at 7-3.
And I'm really loving the creativity from Wildcard. I said it in the 1v1, but the way that they were using such a plethora of operators, it wasn't just one static group. They weren't just six-picking one operator. It was constantly swapping it up. Pulse, Sense, Ying, Grim, Blackbeard. It was every single round was a new look that Wildcard was giving them. And that's just not something you see from a new team that's only had a month of practice, constantly adapting like that. So that's really impressive, to say the least.
To me, I'm looking forward to seeing them actually competing in their home region and then potentially in future LAN events, because this is a lot. This is even saying, hey man, we don't even have, Dash still perfecting his English for our calls during the round. So it seems like there's a lot more potential that Wildcard as a team will have hidden in the back, and I cannot wait to see what more is in store for us in the future. However, for G2 fans, don't you worry about it. If there's one thing G2 fans have been just relying on and living on for years now, it is pure copium. And don't you worry, because G2, Lawyer specifically winning that 1v1 means that they survive. And he won by 2 rounds, so it gives them 2 bullets back in the chamber. They'll have to play with everything very close to heart. Extended mag is done. You cannot use that at all.
No, they needed every single bullet. They're in a tough spot, absolutely, because only having 2 bullets where you're going to be seen on the bottom side. Of course, they'll be able to have some type of opportunity to pick one of the teams, but they're going to have to go for a big team if they want to be able to catch up eventually by day 5.
One of the most experienced players on Wildcard is Kansan. Do you want to talk about him, Fox?
Absolutely. This was one of those plays where Wildcard was abusing their teamwork to be able to go for 2v1s, but it was the genius from Kansan with that Pulse. When's the last time you've seen Pulse be this useful in the last years of Siege. This was a beautiful 2-on-1 where they get the scan through the wall, he communicates it to Dash, they go for that aggressive pick, they get the 2-on-1, easy kill, and then they completely run back. And that's the creativity from, you know, a veteran player to bring that pulse. That's something that, you know, we used to do back in the day. I haven't seen I haven't seen the new generation of players run the pulse just because they don't like the UMP, but it's a good gun. It's a good gun. And Kansan made it work today, and that pulse was really deteriorating the rest of G2 every single time. They would find that one individual player, isolate him, get the pick, play it simple.
Play it simple indeed. Our blacklight highlight for this matchup, which is it? We have passed the halfway mark in the day. The detail brought to you by blacklight. What do you got for me, boy?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we already talked about Kansan with the pulse, but now we just got to talk his heads-up play on a roll where, you know, you don't see Kansan all the time, but this is then they're pushing into kitchen. He's trying to figure out the best course of action here, what needs to happen here. Bomb is down in a terrible spot. He's the only one on this side of the map. He knows there's one engagement here. Good heads-up play to immediately pull that 180 up, transition back, try to take this gunfight onto Loira, but he knows that he needs to get this bomb. He ends up grabbing that bomb, does a good job rotating. His teammates are now in garage, they're set up. He knows he can go for that plant. And the reason why that's the detail, because that is the defining moment in that round. If he dies there, bomb is down, and then now it's a G2 round, which easily could uplift them, give them the right step to get back into the swing of things, but he plays it beautifully, and we're talking about upper echelon players and talented players through and through. That is Kansan, 100%.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure to go through things